So let's start with how you're doing.
How I'm doing?
Yep.
I'm doing so well. I'm doing really well. Right now is a really cool time for women's basketball and women's sports in general. This past weekend, last weekend, we got to watch Iowa, UConn, and South Carolina, NC State. It was a phenomenal tournament. So, the visibility that these young women and that these girls and coaches are now getting is awesome to see. It's about dang time, and there's always been these great players that have played the game, and now these players are getting the visibility and recognition that they deserve, and they're getting the money that they deserve too. So it's been really cool to watch that, be a part of it, and really just embrace it. I grew up with a mother that expected a lot from me and expected a lot from my sister and I, and so the standard was what it was, and the expectations were what they were, and we tried to align with it to the best of our ability, and so it was kind of militant. Our coaches also, growing up, held us accountable for a lot of things, and I'm extremely grateful for that. And I just think internally too, like innately, my twin sister and we were both born with this like natural drive and natural determination. Because we're small, like we're short. And so we had to figure out a way to be successful in basketball because we loved it so much. So, you kind of have to walk around with that kind of toughness, kind of chip on your shoulder, but not in a sense where, you're hard to everybody, but, you can take a little something, you can take a hit or two or whatever. We loved watching Tisha Penicheiro, Kara Lawson, and grew up watching these dope basketball players. And so, our parents put my twin sister and I into a co-ed league, and where we were playing against boys and girls, obviously, and it was fun. We were super competitive, and having a twin sister that I went up against every day, and not just in basketball but just in life. The two of us really going at it head to head every single day, like in every aspect, was how I continued to grow in the sport, grow as an individual, because we pushed each other competitively, like in the classroom, spiritually, and we were really hard on each other, but yet very compassionate and loving toward one another. So it was a very unique relationship that my twin sister and I had. I was in Morocco. It was my last year, and my sister at the time, she was coaching at DePaul, and I came back for the Final Four. I was in Ohio, and so I met some folks out there, and then that May or June, I ended up going on as an assistant coach at Princeton, and so I was there for a year, and that was a really cool experience working with those Ivy League athletes. They take their academics very seriously, and their studies are very rigorous, and they also took basketball very seriously. There's been several draft picks that have come out of Princeton. And so I was very proud to have landed there, and excited that was my first opportunity as a coach. And then from there, I decided to come back home and coach as an assistant at UC Irvine, and was there for 3 years. And the second year that I was there, we were hit with the pandemic, and so that was an interesting experience to go through. But I'm extremely grateful that I was back in California, where I can be close to my family, and it's an area that I know how to move in. So both high academic institutions. And then from there, I met a coach that was coaching in high school, and she asked if I would be interested in coming on as an assistant coach for the Phoenix Mercury. And to me, that was like a dream come true, because that's always been my goal, is to coach at the highest level. For it to happen so quickly in my career and in my path, like, was unexpected. But I'm extremely grateful that it happened when it did, and it forced me to adapt very quickly and to grow very quickly, and to find success in the role that I had on that squad, on that team. And I got to work with some of the best players in the world. I was working with Diana Taurasi, Sophie Cunningham, Kia Nurse, Skylar Diggins, BG. So just to name a few. I'm not trying to name drop or anything like that, but yeah, no, they're some of the best in the world, and I was forced to level up just as they are. It felt great to step into it because, you know, I always knew that I could do it. I always knew that I was meant to be in a space like this, and I was meant to have an impact, make an impact on these players' lives and on the other people's lives around me as coaches. So I was grateful. I was grateful for the opportunity to be under that pressure and to be in a position like that where I was tested, and I was tested like for that season. It was a grind, and I'm sure every season is a grind, and every coach, every player goes through their own different circumstances, and their trials are their trials. So mine aren't any bigger than theirs, you know. But it's at the end of the day, like those moments and the pressure and the challenges that you face during a season, like you look back at it after the fact, and it's so meaningful to have gone through something like that with the people that you're with. And so having gone through that in such a short amount of time, I was grateful because those type of moments really mold people and really shape people as to who they are now. Like last year, I was in 7 different countries within like a 6-month time span. And so I was constantly having to adapt to those cultures, those different types of people. And it's really beautiful, like just experiencing all those different types of people and like the way that they live their day to day, the way that they talk, the way that they connect. So I was constantly having to adapt to those different types of ways of life. And then at the same time, coaches and players are constantly having to adapt to their environments. You look at how the game is now, especially at the college level, and how much money these kids are making. And it changes the way people recruit, how they recruit their kids, and how they coach their kids because of the transfer portal and all that stuff. So I think the best leaders and the most impactful people are able to adapt in the different spaces that they're in. Going through the ebbs and the flows of life and then still seeing success, or going through the ebbs and flows of a tournament or a practice or something like that whatever comes with sports, I think if you can see those ups and downs that you do have and then see that you can still find success even if you've had a down moment, you know, there's always something great that's going to be on the other side of those down moments. And I think when girls can see that and they have parents that can help lift them up or coaches that can help lift them up, they want to keep feeling that sensation of winning and finding success. And it really makes them feel great about themselves, you know? So it creates more confidence, and it creates, I think, some of the best leaders in the world. I'd say off the court is just as important as on-court development, because you're not going to be on the court for the rest of your life. You're going to be, you know, out in the real world once the ball stops bouncing. So, you know, working with players and helping them through different struggles and through different trials and tribulations that they go throughout their lives, and helping them see that they can find a way through it as long as they are determined and consistent and stay positive, and find ways to be successful. I think basketball teaches you how to do that, and, you know, and it can be transferred outside the court. I think some of the challenges that I've had is actually like making time for myself. You know, I've kind of become a workaholic in what I'm doing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being a workaholic, but I think that I've in the past not made time for myself and made time for doing the things that I like to do outside of my profession and my career. I spend time with my family. But, you know, I don't think I've spent much time doing other things outside of working on my career and my craft. I've invested in my relationship with God and in my family and my parents and my sisters and brother and, you know, the people that I've dated. So I have done that, but I think the other challenges is like not making time for like myself or like, you know, other hobbies outside of like what I'm doing. So I'm working on that. Working in a front office, of an organization is a goal that I do aspire to reach. But I think like right now I'm working in a really cool space, and I've found that my purpose is this is my purpose, and I found somewhat of a niche, and I've been so focused on performance my whole life, and I think now it's more about like purpose. And if you have that passion, that love, and desire to work on your craft, which is what I found that I'm doing every day, is like working on it and just continuing to grow into my role, and like the performance comes naturally, So I find that if you're naturally gravitated towards something, that something great is going to come from it. So ultimately, yes, I would like to work in the front office of an organization, an NBA organization, WNBA organization. But right now, I think I'm really living my purpose and my truth. Your network is really your currency. And it's not only just to get ahead, having those connections and whatnot, but it's just really important to have them, for not just for yourself, but for the other person, because you don't know what kind of impact you can make on their life or what impact they can make on yours. So I think if you're walking in like your true, genuine self, and they are too, I think it's amazing when you can make a great connection like that. And, they don't always have to be for forever, but they most likely are, because you've met that person and you've connected with them in some sort of way. And I think it's just really cool and very amazing to be a bridge between two different things, I'm a part of that connection. I'm a part of something that just isn't about me, and that's kind of what it's all about, is connection and doing something that's just not for yourself and being selfless. I think one thing that gets overlooked with youth sports or like just younger basketball players is watching the game. Like you can learn so much just by watching the game and listening to a commentator or just observing the players' movements than actually like going and stepping on a court, right? So like you can see the timing when you're supposed to come off of a pin down and when you're supposed to come off of a flare or slip or something like that. You see the timing of it and see when that pass should be made. You see the help side that is or isn't helping, and then you can apply it once you're actually playing. It slows down. If you can watch how fast they play and how slow they play at the same time and the different paces that they do play at, you're able to then apply that for yourself on the court. And it becomes so much more fun. It slows down for you. If you can see a kid at the age of like 14 or 15 or 16, so 14 to 16 years old, and you see that they have a motor to them, like they can get up and down the floor consistently and play on both sides of the court, and they want to sit down and they can play within a system and an offense, they can do it at a high speed and at a high level, then all you really need to develop are their skills around that. So if they got the motor, they got the energy to do what they need to do, then everything else is easy. So if you can identify that in a player, I think that's kind of like the difference maker, especially at the grassroots level. As a pro, it's a little bit different. You got to see how so many other different skills that they do have, how well they can read an offense, defense, timing, accuracy, and things. So, but at that level, it's definitely their motor. And I think the cool thing of it is is passing. Like passing is something that will always remain the same, that will always remain in the game and be consistent. It's not something that is celebrated either. So I think the connection between all the players is the pass. So it's really cool. It's really dope to see either a good passer or the beauty in someone else finding value in making a pass, a team that can swing it quickly, a team that moves with one another, and they really are on a string together on offense and on defense. So there's so much connection in it, and you can tell the thriving ones, the thriving teams that have the good connection and take value in it, and the ones that don't. So, but yeah, no, it is art. Basketball is straight up art. There have been players that have had expectations of the level of college that they can, or like college basketball that they can play at. And so it's not a hard conversation. I think if you're very direct and you're very intentional with how you say it or how you come off, then, it's not very difficult for me to tell them, because at the end of the day, they want to hear the truth. I can't be someone that's just lying to their face or selling them something that, really shouldn't or doesn't exist for them. So I do my best just to keep it real, to keep it true to them, and help them find opportunities that are, most suitable for them. So that's the joy of like what I do, is I can help them get to the level that they're actually at and maybe have the potential to be at. And that's also, they're young, like the kids are young. And so, they can go and develop maybe at like a JUCO mid-major and then maybe make their way to a Power 5 school. So, but that takes time. It ends up working out in some fashion, right? Because if, say, they go and play college ball somewhere and they've met someone in that space, it always leads to something else. And so that's kind of the point for anybody to go to college or to go to school in the U.S. or anywhere around the world, is to make connections and to build your network and establish something for yourself. Because at the end of the day, women, our careers haven't lasted as long. I'm hoping that changes. But as women, we have to find other ways, to be successful outside of basketball. So I think naturally most girls and women find things outside of sports that they're interested in, because they know, again, the ball is going to stop bouncing. No, I don't hoop anymore. Once I left Phoenix, so that was about a year ago, I stopped hooping. I'm not trying to get hurt. Not even trying to put to jinx myself or anything like that. I don't anymore. I don't find the time, But I wish I did, and I just don't work out and train like an athlete anymore, as far as like the change of direction and agility stuff that comes with basketball. So I don't train like it, so I'm not going to go out there and play like I do. Being on the court as a coach, like you're constantly doing those movements with the players. And so now I'm a little bit out of it. I can still shoot. The thing, but I'm not going to go out there and play. In comparison from 2021 to 2022, the percentage of girls that played basketball or played youth sports in general has declined. And they found that a big reason for that was the changes in girls' bodies with puberty. And so the numbers just declined. And, I think now that we're seeing more girls and more women in sports, I think that number is going to change. It's going to completely do a 180. And the number of girls basketball players are going to increase. And the amount of players that do end up going on to play high school ball or travel club ball or college basketball, I think the talent level is going to increase, because just by numbers, the more players that are playing, the more chances are there's going to be great players that come from that. So, I was surprised to hear that, that a player, and it's fine that a player does want to stop playing, but I think when they see a player like Juju, like Caitlin Clark or Hannah Hidalgo and all these other great players that are rising, they want to be like them, and they see that it's possible that pathway can take you somewhere big, somewhere that is loving, and a place where you can make a lot of money, where you can meet a lot of great people. So it's just beautiful. It's beautiful that it's finally happening for girls and for women, just as it has been for men. So we're getting a little bit of piece of that pie. If there were no basketball, I don't know what I would be doing. And that's okay. I would have been put into something if there was no basketball. I just know that I would be working around it in some capacity. So now I'm in a role now where I'm identifying talent globally at the grassroots level. And so I'm not actually dribbling a ball every day, having a ball in my hands every single day, but I'm helping girls reach those same dreams that I once had. I find a lot of purpose and meaning behind all the work that I'm doing, probably even more than when I was coaching, because I can I'm working with so many different types of people. I'm working with adults. I'm working with kids. I'm working with professional athletes, like talking to them, and I think that's kind of rare, having to, or just being able to work with so many different types of people in a day. So like one day I'm talking to an agent from Spain, and then 10 minutes later I'm talking to a kid's mother from Argentina that's trying to get their kid to play in the U.S. at some capacity. So it's really cool work. Like it's fun. I look forward to waking up every day to do what I do. And without basketball, I don't know what I would be doing. I don't know what I'd be doing. So I guess we'll find out if I ever do leave this space.